Salutations, planet Earth. I am Rob Chapman at Thomann, the home of tone in middle of Europe in Germany. And today I'm going to be helping you learn how to pick your pick. I have with me a myriad of different plectra, and I'm going to talk about the different pros and cons of the various materials, talk about holding methods, and how I have developed a way of working out whether a pick works for me or doesn't. Because as a guitarist, you're going to spend so long on this continual journey trying to find the ultimate plectrum for you to gel with. So let's start with taking a look at a bunch of different picks. Here is probably the most standard everyday pick that you will find of all time. It is a classic plectrum shape, and this one is made by Gibson. It's a medium gauge. Medium just means that there's a little bit of stiffness. If you push it, it'll do a little bend, but it's not gonna massively give away and be a piece of paper like some of these acoustic picks that you'll find. This is made from celluloid, which is a kind of plastic that can be extruded or kind of stamped out from a sheet. It's typically the most affordable plectrum that you will find. And these are, to be honest with you, great. This is where most guitar players start. They start with a medium gauge celluloid pick. And what you'll find is, to begin with, just holding it with your first finger straight out, like an arrowhead. You kind of pop it on, but not so that your finger overlaps, just you want to have about 2 or 3 mil over the end of your finger popping out there. And then you bring it down and put your thumb on top, just to start off learning how to hold a pick. And then when you attack the string with it, you'll find that the plectrum bends and gives and pops over the string. And it gives you this kind of, what Paul Gilbert talks about, this snap, where if this is a string, the pick touches the string, pushes, and then snaps over it because it's got that flexibility in the system of the pick. The celluloid is a really good material for having that kind of pick attack because it has what they call in plastics a really good memory. So you could do this many a time, but the plastic would continue to return to the shape that it was molded from. So the memory of the material is really effective. After a while, however, it will just start warping and it'll end up being that shape. But before that happens, you'll chamfer a side of the pick off, showing you neatly exactly where it is that you are picking your guitar, especially if you're picking kind of fast or doing the same movement multiple times, kind of like plucking power chords. So celluloid, really good way to start. I recommend trying it out. That's number one. Let's move on to something a little bit different. Now, this pick is one that I picked up randomly and recently from a college called Waterbear that I work at. And this is a different kind of plastic. It's not celluloid, it's just a kind of plastic. And these are very typical. I think it's just called plastic. And they're even snappier. You hear that? They come in a variety of different gauges, and lots of different brands make picks from a very similar material. Again, they're mostly very affordable. This is a Harley Benton 0.96. Listen to the snap. That's a fricative snap right there. It's like snap, crackle, and pop. And the difference between these and celluloid is that these tend to be slightly harder wearing if you're doing a lot of repetitive down picking, and they have more rigidity in them at thinner gauges. So celluloid, you want to get up to like a 1.5 mil if you want that rigidity in the pick, whereas just a standard plastic is a little bit more rigid. The downside is these have less grip in the material, and the celluloid tends to stick to your fingers a little bit easier. And there are ways of dealing with that. You can get a compass or something safe and score the back of it and the front. Different guitar players do all sorts of stupid things to picks to make them kind of adhere to your fingers. But I found scratching it up really works, and then again, you just hold it and have a play and see how it feels. That might be a great starting point for you if you've tried celluloid and you don't like it, just a standard plastic pick, lots of different brands of those. And then we get into slightly more specialty shapes. So for example, here is probably one of the most classic picks known to man. This is the Jim Dunlop USA. This is an XL Jazz 3. So the shape is a little bit more pointed. You see that? And what I find with a more pointed pick is that it tends to glide over the string easier for faster picked passages. All I do is, when I hold the pick, I angle it slightly. I don't leave it flat on. So if this is my string, and this is my pick, if it's square onto the string, it tries to snap over it. Whereas if you angle the pick slanting, it slices through the string in a much more ergonomic, much more effective system. See how effective this is? And then you'll find that it's easier to pick quicker with more of a soft motion, especially if you hold the pick softly in between your first finger and thumb. So if I just take a simple shape like, I don't know. So I've got my little finger on the 15th fret, second finger on the 13th fret, and first finger on the 12th fret. And here's a nice economy picked exercise to see if a pick works for you or not. I just go up, and then I go down, and then I go up, followed by another up. And those two ups in a row are just up, up, like a strum. That's how it should kind of feel, nice and soft. And I'm holding the pick soft so that when I pick, if my amazing camera bro, Rabia, focuses on the pick, you see it moves in between my fingers. It is shifting because I'm not holding it rigidly, so the pick is giving way for the string to pass through it. I'm not holding it tight and then forcing the string to move like that. That's how you break a string, isn't it, Bea? So... That's a shape. It's an interesting material. Again, it's just plastic, but feels nice. Let's take a look at some slightly different picks. This is a Jim Dunlop Primetone. So these are, I believe, handmade by Dunlop. They've got a unique end shape to them that is very slightly chamfered, so that it gives you a little bit of that pick angle already, based obviously on a Jazz 3. It's got the grip on it, a little bit more expensive. I don't know what this material is, but it's completely rigid. So it's quite thin, but you've really got to try to bend it. And the rigidity is something that I love in a pick. What it means is that the plectrum is always the same shape, and there is a consistency in the technique that you apply, because it's all about how soft or how you hold the angle of the pick. The pick doesn't move, it never alters, it's always the same. It's great if you're learning guitar, because it means you've got this consistent thing all the time. I love using hard plectrum. You can also grip the pick really hard and get a nice classic spanky tone with your power chords, or hold it soft and do more kind of percussive, funky playing. Even though the pick is hard, it doesn't mean you can't do rhythm type playing. Good option if you want to try something a little bit different. I've got this Dava Pick. I'd never tried one before. I thought they looked just a bit weird, so I tried it out. It's a composite, or it looks like it's a composite, oh it is, of two materials. A hardened plastic at the tip, and then a rubber that flexes in the middle. So the idea here is that you get the hard rigidity of the pick that's always consistent, but you get this flexible middle zone that allows you both rhythm and lead, they say in the marketing, which is another way of selling you a pick. But let's try it out. To be honest, that actually feels really good. I'm quite surprised. I thought that the rubber and the flexibility in the middle would put me off because I'm not normally a fan of flexible picks, but hats off to Dava for making a great pick. Moving on to something a little bit different. This is a Jim Dunlop Flow Andy James signature plectrum. And again, look at the shape. You'll see that a lot of players are using this kind of jazz or enlarged jazz shape, actually kind of including me. It's thick, really thick now. This is at least 1.5 to 2 mil thick. And actually it doesn't say on the pick, but it probably does in the packaging that I've thrown on the floor. It's completely rigid. It's really smooth. It feels like it's just gonna glide over the strings, and it's built for insane shred riffage. Not really appropriate with a Strat unless I very slightly gain it up. Actually feels a lot more familiar to me than I thought it would. And I've also noticed that if you look through it with light, it's slightly blue, which is kind of a nice touch. This is what I use. This is a gravity plectrum. And again, it's similar to Andy James. This is about 2 mil thick, and it's a Razer shape, which is a little bit like the Jazz 3. It's made from this really solid see-through plastic that is chunky beyond belief. It's beveled by hand so that it glides. And again, this is a rigid structure that will not move. And my recommendation to beginners is, although it may seem counterintuitive, try starting with a pick that will not change its shape or structure, and if possible, will not wear for as long as possible. Just feels like something I'm very familiar with because it is. So there you go. You can otherwise use really stupid things for picks, and I have done that many a time. I've used banknotes, fold them up enough times, you get a point. Hotel key cards, if you've got a guitar, lost your pick, and you're in a hotel room, which happens to me all the time. And something else I've always wanted to try and play with is an egg. This is a freshly boiled egg from the hotel that I'm staying at in Germany. And I just thought, if I could think of the single stupidest thing to try and play guitar with that would be the most impractical pick of all time and space, it would be an egg. Let's try and test I've got a feather floating in front of me. The egg pick. I think it's safe to say that this is probably not the right kind of material to be making a pick from. I would recommend instead that you try some of the other really great picks that I've shown you today and buy them from Thomann in Germany, serving the entirety of Europe because they're your friend and they love you. I have been Rob Chapman. I'm about to eat this boiled egg. You take it easy. Chappers considerably out. Egg.